Hello everybody, and let's exit to port. It is currently 18:16 Central European Time on the 22nd of February 2022 on a Tuesday, the second day of the week. It's gonna be 2:22 on a Tuesday very soon. I saw a TikTok earlier today about somebody going mad trying to figure out the next time we'll have a Tuesday in a year that is nothing but twos. And we're talking an absurd amount of years into the future. And I'm like, dude, just have a Snickers. Grumbles, good evening.
Good evening. I mean, I'll be there.
You'll be there? Are you sure?
Yeah. Probably, at least in spirit.
At least in spirit. Speaking of in spirit, I don't know why that's a bad segue. I think it's because you're Scottish. Rabtastic, welcome to the podcast, Exit to Port.
Thank you for having me. I am a huge fan of spirits.
See, you need. I had a feeling.
Been watching the Linus Tech Tips. I'm working on those amazing segues.
So the podcast today will be involving Rab, and part of the reason why I wanted to have Rab on is he is part of the stream team that I've set up, but also because there's been a lot going on in the streamosphere that I want to include him into, because he has some good thoughts around that. But we're going to start first with our normal kind of segments here. And like, there's a lot going on in World of Warships these days, but I kind of sit there and going, they're communicating. There's no big crises going on. Yeah, we've had some kerfuffles with the game crashing because of a mod and such, but like, Grumbles, what's your take here?
My take of the Warships patch is quite simple. I love dirigible derbies. I think they're fantastic. We've talked about this on and off for quite a while, that the game really needs some additional modes available other than random or random plus silver gathering or steel gathering. I always call it silver. And now we've got one called dirigible, and it'll go away, and then there'll be a gap, and there'll be something else. But this one's been a fairly good breath of fresh air. I was looking for some hybrid kind of PvP content. It's very light in that regard. It's mostly still just PvP. But it's got enough. It's got something different about it. There's a nice sort of map rotation, and it basically makes people have to come out and fight.
I just hope we would get it in more tiers. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. I mean, it being tier 10 is a bit annoying because it kind of shuts some people out, and also it just gets a bit dull after a while. But the plus side for me personally is I've sort of learned how to play the Austin, kind of.
There you go. You'll have to teach Mari. Shots fired there. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, nothing really big, and it feels kind of good. It reminds me kind of when we went from having Trump as a president in the U.S. to suddenly having Biden, where it went from being something every day to not every day. And that's what this kind of feels like to me. It's weird. It feels good, I'll be honest. And the same thing kind of is for War Thunder, although they've done things a different way, because they've recently tested matchmaking for sim battles for ground. Kind of like the same sort of matchmaking that you get for realistic battles. And you got to test that out.
Oh, yeah. I've been dipping my toe into sim air for a little while, mainly on our events, and having a great time with it. And it's funny because Jurek, with his usual sort of Gatling gun approach to DMs, there's nothing for, and all of a sudden, and then nothing, and then I'm like, okay. I was like, oh no, something bad must have happened, or something must be going crazy because I've got 11 messages from Jura. I was like, oh no, he just had a quick Gatling gun moment. He's fine. Most of them are geese. So like I've been sort of teasing him a bit because he's been watching some of the Sim stuff, and he's like, Sim, and I didn't know much of the background and all the detail like he does, but he's been kind of avoiding it, and then he stumbled upon the whatever it was forum article about the matchmaking change. He's like, why is this buried in the blog somewhere and not publicized, not put in the, why don't you make a bigger deal of this? So he had a bit of a rant at them on the Discord, bless him. And then he just played it, and then I got nothing from him. He disappeared. And then in the evening, I just got this little and it was just like, Sim is amazing in capital letters.
that is all. Carry on. Yeah,
exactly.
I know.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
It made me chuckle a lot. And I thought on Sunday after our flying event on Saturday, I was like, you know what? Let's have a little look, shall we? Because I wanted to help the Sim community by giving my feedback, and the only way you could vote is if you'd played enough with activity. So I was like, okay, this will be terrible. I'll do it. And then the first match, I killed something and capped something, and then got murdered the rest of the time. And it was like, this is really good. This is way more immersive than I don't know why I'm surprised having done the Sim Air, but it was just, I don't know. It took me sort of into it, and I was like, this is the tank game I kind of always wanted.
Yeah.
Not because I'm good or knowledgeable in this stuff, but just because you're it feels like you're in the tank.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad they did that test, and hopefully it gets to stay. And my phone is vibrating, so sorry, that probably shone through. There we go. Let's just mute that. Terribly sorry. But yeah, no, I want to. I really want them to bring that in. But that's pretty much it. There hasn't been any big news. Nothing huge going on. And I'm really happy about that. It means that we can talk about what we want to talk about. And that feels good. That feels good. So without really any further ado, let's get to know who is Rab and what is so tastic about him.
It's a good question, Tiger.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'll start from the beginning. I'm streaming then, because if I gave you my life story, it would take up far too much of your time. I started streaming in, we'll say, summer of 2000, because I can't remember months exactly. But like a lot of people, I'd lost my job due to COVID. I was looking after my dad full time as a carer. I was stuck in the house bored. I had nothing to do. He was high risk, so I couldn't really go out and hang out. I played a few sports and they were all cancelled at the time because everything was cancelled. And all I really had, apart from staring at 4 balls, was playing computer and looking after my dad. So it dragged on. My nephews introduced me to Twitch because I started playing Tarkov at the time and I was doing terribly. And they said, here's some streamers to watch. And I was like, The hilarious thing was, back then I had no interest in watching streaming at all. I was very much of the view, why would I watch someone play the game when I play it myself? And now I laugh. I laugh. It's been a quick 2 years. So I started watching streaming, found that one of my friends from the football team had started streaming, so I started watching him. And he said, why don't you give it a go? And I was like, I mean, I've got this stuff, I've got a PC and get a camera pretty cheap, maybe give it a shot. So I did, with the full intention of being a Final Fantasy streamer and streaming all the classic Final Fantasies. And obviously, after doing that for a while, I realised that nobody wanted to watch those classic games. And I spoke to my friend who was doing quite well and said, look, any tips, tricks, can you help me out? And he's like, yeah, sure. Come and join my Discord, it's full of all streamers and we want to help each other grow. And man, if I knew then what I did now, I just knew what a red flag that was. And that just started, that was stage 1 of my journey to becoming the anti-support for sport Discord person I am now.
Yeah, I've seen some TikToks from you where people seem to see you as the angriest man on the internet. Not really, but you seem to be labeled as an angry man, and I have to say that's not really how I recognize you, but
Funny.
yeah, no, like the journey to Twitch, probably for a lot of people, like you say, started with COVID. But what was it about content creation that kind of made you stick around with it? Like, what's the character?
I think, although I'm very introverted, I think I'm an entertainer at heart. I like to make jokes. I like to bring people's spirits up. I may not come across, like you said, the best times because people still think I'm this crazed, raving lunatic. In fact, when Jade came home from work there, she finishes early today. She says, "Oh, I was sitting watching TikTok. Your TikTok came up talking about that," and she says, "I just started laughing in the middle of work." That's because obviously she's my partner. She knows nothing like that. Like I'm not in the least bit angry or aggressive. She sat there laughing at work, thinking, "I can't believe people think this of you. Like you're the most laid back, horizontal person ever." And I was like, "Yeah." But for me, like I've never been artistically creative. Like painting miniatures, as we talked about earlier, last year. Before that, last time I painted was in high school when they made me do art as a elective class.
Mm.
But I've always enjoyed making people laugh or making people think and talking. I think that's the sort of extrovert in me trying to burst out. But maybe I lost that when I was a teenager and I just became quite introverted. But content creation for me was an opportunity for me to share what I loved with people, which is why I wanted to just play Final Fantasy 7 and tell people about my favourite game ever. And then if we finish that, we'll go on to 8, and then maybe we'll go on to 9. It was just a chance for me to put myself out there and show people a little bit of me and have a laugh at the end of the day. And then, like I said, it very quickly, not very quickly, it quickly turned into something very different when I started to see that there was a darker side to it. And I guess, like we said, a lot of people moving into it because of COVID, like the mass resignation, they call it, where everyone quit their job and people were like, I don't want to be on the front lines of a pandemic making minimum wage. I'm going to do one thing and make my own living. The number of people who maybe saw this as an opportunity to make a living playing video games, which to me 2 years ago was a fantasy. But now being able to see so many people doing that, and I am so incredibly happy for them because it's a dream. Like I said, 2 years ago to me it was a dream, and now I realise it's not. But when so many people jump on that dream, there's always going to be people willing to take advantage of that. When there's so many people chasing that dream and at the same time, just all at once jumping over and thinking, I could maybe give this Twitch thing a try. Anytime there's a massive amount of people, like a migration of people, there's always going to be somebody willing to take advantage of that. And that's what I discovered.
I think a lot of people maybe discovered the same thing at the same time, is just how much work it goes into content creation.
Yeah.
And Grumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of content creation and journeys, you've kind of started your journey.
I have. Well, it's gone to the next sort of step of the path or whatever. Yeah. Some overlap there with the things Rob was saying. I didn't really I didn't know what I was doing. You could argue I still don't some days. But I definitely got the itch, like watching and seeing a few people doing it, because it made me laugh and smile. And I thought, well, that's kind of what I want to do. Try and get through any of the dark moments I experience. And if I can help others doing that, then awesome. And so I sort of gave it a go. Similar sort of thing. And I got a computer. I didn't have the employment issue. I had the reverse issue, which is not a bad thing as such, but I had like a job that was very demanding of my time and my mental faculties, at least. And so it was very much sort of hobby thing. started out as just a bit of a laugh on a Saturday and Sunday morning, and then kind of grew a little bit. And before I knew it, I was doing 4 working days a week, and then 3.5 days, the rest of the time streaming. And it was like, oh, and I didn't really even think about that until the mod team were like, "You do realize you work 7 days a week effectively?" I was like, oh, I never really thought about it, but yeah, you're right. That's why I'm always tired. And I decided at the end of, kind of at the beginning of last year, also with the COVID thing, but more from the point of view of seeing how much positivity and feedback was coming in terms of how it was helping people, including myself, but helping people get through their days, get through some of those difficult life's ups and downs and so forth. And that really kind of solidified the kind of gut instincts I had on it, I suppose, and set me on a bit of a path towards looking at how I could make it a reality. And then just so happened that my company turned around and was like, not to me specifically, but like, hey, you lot, we, reshuffling the deck, as it were. We can have some discussions about what the possibilities are. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I thought, well, I'm not really at retirement age as such, so that's more for people that are close to retirement, these kind of deals, Mm-hmm. And then my HR manager rang up and was like, have you had a look at this deal? I was like, well, yeah, I'm aware of it, but that, I'm not really in that. And they're like, no, it's for everyone. I was like, oh, okay. So we're reading between the lines. You're saying, you want me to have a look at this? You want me out? Okay, understood. So we had a good chuckle about that. And then we just went full time from the start of this year. And it's just been amazing. I still remember your words, though, Tiger, about beforehand me saying, well, hopefully I'll have more time for things. And you were like, you won't have more time for things. And in the one hand, I've got more time for certain things, but on the other hand, I've got this backlist of all these things that I want to be doing.
Yep.
And goodness me, it's difficult to juggle it. But it's a wonderful difficulty. It's a difficulty I wouldn't change for the world. So, and yeah, there was definitely some challenging times, both for the content creation itself in terms of keeping the energy and dealing with developer issues and stuff like we had last year in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But and then on top of that, all that horrible nonsense with all these bots and shenanigans and big follows and all that trash. You see all sides of it, and you realize when you're doing it with more of your focus on it as a full-time kind of way of sustaining. It certainly does have some different aspects and things you see, but so far I wouldn't change it for the world. And I don't know, you just go. I think all of us that are have good intentions and want to bring some positivity, it's unbelievable as a means of doing that, of being positive and bringing out to people and offering it. And some people will embrace it, most will, I find, and every once in a while you'll bump into someone who doesn't want to.
I've had a bit of a journey over the last 2 years, where I had a stride when I first started full-time streaming, because that was just as COVID hadn't really kicked in. It was just this weird lung disease in China, and then suddenly everything shut down. And that's from that day. That's when I first started going for partner, and that June 2020 was when we hit partner. And that was part of the whole journey. And I've kind of come full circle. I'm sitting here and I'm going, you know what? I want to get back to focusing on the content creation and not the fact that this is my job. I'm coming back to that place where I'm looking for a part-time job to be able to get back to the creation of stuff, building a community, doing that content that I want to do, and as part of that, I'm really glad TikTok has opened up my eyes to people like Rab and others, because I see something in short form creation that I really enjoy, and and I don't know what you guys are thinking of this. Like we see YouTube catch on to it and jump on top of it with their shorts. We have TikTok, we have Instagram doing more and more. Like they've had reels and such for a long time, but they're focusing more on it.
Yeah.
So what is it about the short form that people enjoy?
I think it's so much more easily consumable, especially for people who are maybe not neurotypical, who don't want to sit down and watch a 15-minute highlight video of kills on Warzone. Maybe want to see one kill clip and say, hey, this guy's all right. And it's something you can do on the go. You don't need to sit down and set up telly or burn your phone battery out. And it's great. Like, if you get full of sports, sometimes I want to watch 9 football games. I want to watch the highlights. And if I see the highlights, I'm saying maybe I'll watch the whole game. Maybe I'll go and see a little bit more about that player. That player looked good in the highlights. Maybe I'll go and see how he played the last game. And it's just like that that funnel of the top is the highlights. This is stuff that's going to bring all these people in, and then gradually go to work them down that funnel until they get that sort of pure 100% tiger at the bottom of it. I think short form content is great for bringing in the masses who maybe might not follow you on Twitch, but they'll watch your stuff on TikTok. And the more people watch on TikTok, the more it gets pushed, the more chance you're going to find that person that will come watch on Twitch.
Exactly. Grumbles, what's your take on short form? No, this is not a short joke.
No, I don't really know because I haven't really sort of been overly exposed to it. I guess it's gone over my head. That was a short.
Get out.
I think that it's fantastic in the sense of having this quick bite-sized medium to kind of interact, to touch base, to briefly express something that people can pick up on. In particular, obviously for me personally, it would be things, positive messages. I think that there's I worry slightly that there's a flip side to it, which is let me put this a different way. I think, because those were probably my old or initial thoughts, I think that it might be to some degree very fitting technological capability, fitting a sort of niche or not a niche, the development or the progression of sort of humanoids adopting technology. I think because all of this technology is incredibly new in terms of like human evolution or whatever, and being familiar or learning how to deal and cope with and utilize all of these kind of new capabilities that we have. And I think that this new short form it's very much, I think it's incredibly popular because it feels very aligned with whether it's consciously or subliminally, this feeling of nobody's got any time. So I'd rather take a bite-sized chunk of something because it means I don't have to stop and I don't have to commit, it sounds funny to say, but like an unnecessary amount of time. I think in a similar way as to why people like, a lot of television series, and a lot of television series production quality has gone much closer, not in the extremes, but like on average to like movie production quality and the level of the acting and music and all that kind of thing, because there's clearly a huge market there for people that don't have the time to sit down for a 3-hour blockbuster or whatever. So, and this just feels like further iterations of these little bite-sized chunks. I think that it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think it's a brand new thing, but I think that it's become so accessible and it seems so simple. I've not used the platform myself, but I'm guessing it's simple from some of what I've seen put together. That kind of like Rab was saying, everybody's got it on their phone and that. So I think it's a good thing in terms of being able to quickly ping something out there, be creative for a minute, get that creative like energy out there or whatever, and stay in touch with people. I have no clue really, and don't really have an opinion of what it's going to be like longer term. There's something in me, like a gut feeling or an instinct, that I'm slightly concerned that is it feeding that that kind of artificial but feels very real, like short attention span, don't have time, everything's in a rush. You know, I'm worried that where does it take us in terms of like the quality maybe of the content? I don't know. These are not strong opinions. These are just kind of like, I have this kind of instinctual, I'm not sure where it goes. But and ultimately, if people enjoy it, if they have a laugh out of it, it's cool. Yeah, my brief interactions with TikTok have mainly been on a PC with a web browser, and because it's got this terrifying full volume thing.
Yep. Oh my god.
And randomness to the algorithm in the next video you see, I'm put off it, because every time I see a TikTok thing sent to me, I'm like, well, I'm not touching that because I'm going to be deafened, frightened, you know, confused, because I don't know what's going to be the next video up. And so I just kind of I ignore them. But I see them mostly on tweets. Ironically, I see a tweet with a TikTok video linked in them, so at least I have the choice whether to click on it or not.
Well, Rob, you mentioned this with being neurotypical and such, and as somebody who has recently found out that I'm not neurotypical, nobody was surprised. I there's a term out there called doom scrolling, and I do this a lot. Whereas I might as well be watching an episode of something on TV or a long format video from somebody, but instead I'm doing the doom scrolling thing on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or whatever it is, where I watch a video, I swipe, watch a video, swipe, and it's just to kind of make the not necessarily to make the time pass, but to make my brain feel calm enough, because it removes that thought. Like it has something new to latch on to every 30 to 40 seconds, or maybe even up to every 3 minutes if you catch some really long ones. And for my brain, that is fantastic, but it's also really scary, because you get caught in it. You get so utterly caught in it. And yeah, like you say, Grumbles, like there's a certain thing there with how will this evolve? Like where do we go from short form? Although we've had short form before, and it was very popular in the way of Vine. You guys remember Vine?
Yeah. Still some of the best videos on TikTok are Vines.
Exactly. And back when Vine was a big thing, before it got purchased by, I can't remember who purchased it. But you had people like Will Sasso, comedian, who has done a lot of good work. He's worked with Saturday Night Live and so on, done movies, series, and so on. He was one of the bigger creators on there because he did excellent short form comedy. And I don't think this is necessarily a new thing. I think the new thing is the amount of quality phones out there and the coverage so that more people can reach this. So, yeah, no, TikTok is it's a scary place, but it's also a wonderful place where you can meet a lot of cool people. Because I've met a lot of cool streamers. Rab is one of them, actually.
It's it like anything. There's good sides and bad sides. There's dangers. I think one of the dangers of TikTok is that the videos are so readily available. I call it like the airplane or the hot shots. If you've seen the movies where this joke might not be good, but the next one might be, and it's just rapid fire. Like every video, something new, something firing, and you're going to find something you like eventually if you keep scrolling. So yeah, so you can doom scroll finding like good content after good content, or you can doom scroll thinking, right, I need one laugh and then I'm going to bed. Well, this is rubbish. It scares me how good the TikTok algorithm is, because after like a day, I was like, man, this content made for me.
It's weird. It's weird how good they are, and like there's much media consumed and made for a lot of people out there, and but you've chosen to step away from Twitch as a platform. But rather moved on to making videos for YouTube and so on. What was the triggering effect there? What led you down there?
I think for me, I like taking the time to do a little bit of editing, or being able to stop, delete, record again. Live speaking, I don't feel 100% comfortable with. Like, I've been in and out of speech therapy most of my life, so sometimes I get nervous and I ramble or I mess up, and being live, it's just sometimes it's horrible for me. I just like to make long form content. Like, when I started moving away from gaming more to the painting side of things, or the even really the commentary side of things, it's not something you can do on Twitch. Like, it's very difficult for me to go on Twitch and live talk about issues that I have with a platform, issues I have with a certain type of behaviour. It's just something that's better suited to a YouTube video. And for me, discoverability as well, the chance of someone who wants to go onto Twitch and go into the Just Chatting section and find someone randomly talking about an app or a follow for follow, sport for sport, didn't really work. So I was like, well, if I put it on YouTube, someone might be searching for mistakes Twitch beginners make, or might be searching for more information on something that I have an opinion on. So it just made more sense for me to put those videos on YouTube. Also, you may remember during my last Twitch stream, I was actually hate rated as well.
Yeah.
So that put me off as well. So I've not been back on since then.
No, to give some backstory here, I started using TikTok and started looking for other streamers to learn from, to watch their short form content, and others I could network with in a way of talking to them about their way of doing things and so on. Because let's face it, Twitch is horrible at allowing us to actually network. So I started using other platforms, and I can't quite remember what video popped up for you first for me. I do imagine it was some of the Tarkov videos. I've no idea why I ended up on Tarkov TikTok, but hey, here we are. And then slowly but surely, there was more and more talk about this whole support for support and follow for follow thing going on. And like, you have very consistently and with great passion talked about it's not a good thing, and it's against the terms of service of Twitch to engage in such behavior. And there are stream teams built around this. There are places out there that are built around the idea for support, and seeing somebody who is not afraid of speaking up, but then taking a beating or a brick to the face because of it, that's not something I'm okay with, which is why I easily kind of went, hey, Rab, I like you. I want to talk more with you. Let's talk a bit about the bad side of Twitch, which we have seen over the last few years. You mentioned hate raids, Grumbles. You mentioned hate raids, where it's been a lot of people of color, people of different sexual orientations. Like, I don't mind who you are. If you just behave like a cool human being, I don't mind. But when we start seeing hate raids towards people because they are of a certain alignment sexually or whatnot, that I'm not okay with that. That's just why is that a thing? And then you, Rab, as a white male,
Yeah.
gets hate rated. Like, do you know more of the story behind it? Like, what was the thing there?
So I think I must be the first straight white male that's been hate rated on Twitch. So the backstory, there's one of two options. I've not quite sussed out who or what it was. As you know, Tiger, I was deep in the middle of an argument with a stream team / pyramid scheme. I believed them to be a pyramid scheme, and I called them out on such. I didn't like intentionally go after them at first. I was talking about something totally irrelevant, and someone came into my TikTok comments and says, "No, that's not true. You should join this stream team, and they will help you grow." And I was like, "You're exactly the problem that I'm talking about right now." I says, "I know exactly that team, and I know well about them. I've heard plenty of stories told to me about them. They're a pyramid scheme." I says, "Look at the guy at the top, how many viewers he's got, and look at how many viewers you've got. Tell me how that works. Tell me how he's making a full-time living and you're still working a full-time job." Says if his whole stream team Discord, his whole persona was about helping small streamers, why are you not earning a full-time wage? And he is. And then the person in question came into my comments to discuss it with me. I was like, "I don't want to discuss it with you. I know exactly who you are. I'd heard stories about you. You're a con artist as far as I'm concerned." And then it devolved to me eventually getting death threats from them. But that was a turning point for me. Hilarious and like hindsight, but at the time I was living with my dad's a full-time carer, and I was like, "Look, if someone's threatening to come to my door or look for me, I've got people to look after here. My girlfriend, dad, my dog." So at the time I was a bit put about that, but now I can look back and laugh and think like these keyboard warriors would never have came to my door. But it's crazy the lengths people go to defend someone that is ripping them off. As far as I'm aware, I'm taking money straight out of their pockets. But it blew me away that there was people out there that go that far. And then I got to meet people like yourself, Tiger, and people like Grumbles, from complete strangers online who are saying, "No, this is not right. I've got your back." And I'm like, I've got Twitch partners that I've never met who are willing to put their name and their badge on the line to defend me. And it blew me away. It really did. Not sure and Grumpy as well. But another couple of people, like complete strangers, who are putting videos about it and saying, "This Rab's a good guy. This shouldn't be happening." And I was like, wow. Complete strangers on the internet want to threaten me, and then complete strangers on the internet want to stand by me and stick to me.
Well, there is a certain truth to that. There may be good people on the internet left still.
Maybe. But yeah. So come the hate raid it all settled down. Pretty much all of them had blocked me, and I think part of joining the stream team, one of the rules was to block me on every form of social media, because I still to this day find people I've never interacted with that've got me blocked, and it's either from that stream team or it's from an app which I'm critical of, which we can maybe cover later. But yeah, I still find people that I don't know, and I'm like, "Why have you blocked me? I don't know who you are." But I took a little bit of time off streaming, and I was doing the YouTube stuff, and I was doing a lot of TikTok stuff. And then I said, I'm going to go back and just do some painting on stream. So I'd been painting a couple of miniature models on stream, and I think I got to like maybe a fourth or my fifth stream back, and on the sort of start stream, maybe about 5 minutes, closed it down, started talking, and as soon as it did, like just the chat was full up of hundreds of accounts saying the same message. Was like, "You thought you got rid of us, but here we are." And it was like hashtag the name of that stream team. And I was like, right, either these are the dumbest people alive, or someone is trying to get me to start a fight with you again. And there had been someone, and Tiger had spoken to you about a person. who'd been trying to get me to start a fight with them again. He had left them because he'd sort of plateaued and he wasn't going anywhere. So he left and basically started his own version of it. But was sort of feeding me all the stories and information. And at the time, I couldn't get less. I was like, yeah, cool, I'm done. Best of luck to you in your streaming career. He made partner on the back of some very suspect numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was in my chat when this happened. So I was like, either they're the worst hate raiders ever, like leaving their name and the name of their stream team, or someone's just trying to get me a start fight with you guys.
Like,
so
it's like prank calling somebody without turning off a caller ID.
Yeah. So, either they're very stupid or someone else is very stupid and they're trying to get me to start fight with them again. It didn't work. I made a video about it, put it on TikTok. A couple of people said we didn't have anything to do with that, and I was like, yeah, cool. Someone did. It really put me off for the rest of my stream. But,
well, the best thing now is they can squabble amongst themselves, I suppose.
It's, no, 100% right, because that's the attitude I'm taking to a lot of things now, where I'm like, I've said all I can say, I've done all I can do. You're going to find out the hard way. Like, all these people that are in that stream team that now come to me saying, I was there when they did that to you, it was terrible. I'm like, yeah, you didn't say that back then. What changed? I've left because my views stopped. I'm like, yeah. That's it.
Well, what do you know? The view stopped. It's as if a pyramid scheme doesn't work.
I mean, it's not like I fell for it myself, you know. Why do you think I'm trying to tell you guys? Learn from my mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on to something more positive. Because out of all of this, like you've started your journey on YouTube, and like you said, you've picked up a hobby of painting miniatures.
Yes.
Why the miniatures? Like, out of all the hobbies out there that you could pick up instead of this, like, why miniatures?
It's a culmination of two completely different plots that came together at once. I have a friend, Jamie, who did all my channel art. I'm trying to think what his art name is now because he changed it. He's going to Unbroken Blades. He did all my channel artwork, and he's a massive Warhammer fan. Has been for years, for as long as I've known him. I think we actually first met through a friend that worked in Games Workshop. Where I was out a night out with him, and he's like, "Oh, you know each other?" I was like, "Yeah." So you knew him through my mutual acquaintance, or through our mutual acquaintance who worked in Games Workshop. That's what's called back then, yeah. So he's a massive Warhammer fan, and he used to like send me voice notes on WhatsApp of him explaining lore to me, like 20-minute long voice notes. And it was just, I was like, in fact, that's great, Jamie. Thanks very much. Really interesting. He's a very talented artist, and he doesn't paint, but he takes models and he adds the green stuff to it and sculpts his own. So he does sort of Chaos Marines, Nurgle Chaos Marines, and he adds like cracked armor or like exposed flesh and flies and just some horrible stuff. So he makes these really beautiful models, but they're absolutely horrible. So he's been in my ear with that for maybe like 15 years now. On the other flip side of it, me and Jade were sitting watching Twitch one day. We're watching Pestily, and he was doing a Bob Ross paint along stream, and this was just after all that nonsense happened with the pyramid scheme, and I was like, I just want some peace and quiet. He says, I'd really like to take up a nice chilled hobby. So me and Jade were like, well, maybe we should go and get like a couple of easels, some paper, some paints, and just like paint something, just maybe something you enjoy. And she's like, what, maybe if you did that on stream, like maybe people would want to come see that. I was like, I should do it myself and we'll see how I feel. And that's it. They just both ideas collided, and I ended up picking up some Warhammer miniatures and painting them.
It is oddly satisfying to sit down with a model and then look at it after it's done. And it's like, I did this. I know I have plenty of miniatures around that I've painted both for D&D and other things. So like I gather you don't play with them as in armies, but do you play other games on tabletop?
So not as of yet. I know understand that I'm slowly slipping into it. I've accepted that I will be. I played, wasn't I have Tabletop Simulator on my PC. I've never used it. I should use it. But we played a game of Blades in the Dark last year, which very much role playing, not much for table involved. But it's fantastic. And you can find pretty much all the resources for it online for free as well. But wow, what a great game that was. Me, my nephew, Jamie, and my friend Andrew played the game. Andrew was our DM. He'd played it before with his girlfriend. They were still in his wife, sorry. They were still in a game as well. So he decided to run that for us. We loved it. The role playing aspect of it was a little bit unfamiliar to me. As much as I've always played role playing games, like I've had my role very much told for me. But it really tested your sort of, for me, problem solving. And Andrew hated it because like you come up against a locked door, and I'd be like, "Well, is it really locked? Like, how do you know the guard wasn't drunk that night? I was like, there's beer bottles lying around. Maybe the guards were drunk and lifted the door open." And he's like, "I'll let you roll for it, Rab." I was like, "Oh, thanks so much." But yeah, absolutely. We'd play it on Discord, and you'd just hear this big sigh, and I was like, "I've got you.
You know you've rumbled the DM when you get a out of them.
I'll let you roll for it."
Yeah, there you go. But that also
So
means
it's
you've
a
kind
great
of
game.
found that you've kind of found that essence of the role playing in that case.
Yeah, if there's a way to do something, if it's an easy way to do something, I keep telling my boss this, and she gets less and less pleased every time. If there's an easy way to do something, I'll find it.
Yeah.
If there's an easier way to do something, it's part of like I used to work in IT, so I assume both of you probably have as well, judging by conversation with you. As a test analyst, and I was always finding a way to break something or finding a way to streamline something. It just maybe appeals to that part of my brain.
I mean, this sounds very familiar. What do you think, Grumbles? Does this ring any bells for you?
Oh yeah, just a few. I like it. I've definitely found myself gravitating sort of in the role-playing spheres into almost exclusive roleplay and hardly any dice, to the point where when I'm GMing for my weekly group, and we've been playing together for about 5 or 6 years, I almost have to force myself and think, okay, how long ago is it since we last had proper dice rolling? Okay, and how can I build some of that back in, just to make sure that they get their little bit of dice rolling done, you know?
You have a little bit of luck in the game. A little bit of luck involved.
Yeah, I like the dice element exactly for that kind of like, describe to me something, tell me something, challenge me with something, whatever, and then we can work out how that might be resolved by the dice. I like that element to it, yeah, for sure.
That's pretty much Blades. I don't know if you've played Blades Grumbles, but you would love it because it's as big or as complicated as the DM makes it to be, and it's as fun as the players make it to be. Like, if you weren't interested in roleplay, like my nephew Kel was quite young, he's only 20, so a lot of it sort of went over his head, and he was asking like sort of simple questions like, look, like you got to put yourself in play the character, and then you put yourself in that position and basically think, what would you do, rather than, oh, it's a video game, just press X to open the door. But yeah, it's as much fun or as straightforward as you make it to be. I think it's a game that both of you would love, to be honest.
It does sound like it, and we'll probably leave some links down below, both to your friend who's the artist and other links afterwards. No, for a lot of people, the gateway drug into role playing is often the miniatures, in either painting them or playing with them or getting introduced into a system where you do some random rolling. And I've seen some DMs pretty much just do it the way that you guys are describing it, where when you do something that is under pressure, as in you don't have time to sit down and do your everyday task in the same way that you do it, and you know, when there's something on the line, that's when you do the roll, because that's when the outcome will make a difference. Like, And then you have the polar opposite, where you have people roll everything from your name, your gender, where you're from, your height, all your stats, everything. And for somebody that's played for a long time, it can probably be fun to do a one shot of those, but you don't want to overdo it either, because that makes you rely fully on the rules, honestly. And well, it can be fun, but yeah, you mentioned Tabletop Simulator. I have that too.
I would love to try D&D or not a game of this. It's one of those things where I always say like I'm too busy. That's such a lie. I'm not too busy. It's just finding the right people, I guess. I think we stopped our game of Blades and never took up another one because I think I went back to work, Kay went back to work, and Jamie went back to work all in the space of a very short period of time. I think this was during the first lockdown. But yeah, it's something that I'd absolutely love to pick up again, given the right people.
Yeah. Grumbles, do you have Tabletop Simulator? Grumbles is dead, apparently.
Oh,
I lost them.
No, I hard muted myself while I moved my mic. Boom. But also dead. I don't have that, but because I've played mostly through Roll20, a lot of the things I've done.
Yeah. No, I've used tabletop for quite a lot, mostly for playing card games together with friends. Anything from Red Flags to Cards Against Humanity and so on, which is fun. But a friend of the community recently picked up his Oculus Quest, and there is a tabletop sort of role playing thing where you're in the VR world, and now we're talking. Now we're talking for my sake. This is getting fun. It's a virtual world, and you can do whatever you want, and I think that'll take that extra step for a lot of people. When you suddenly get to roll your die and do that in that setup, because I've always wanted to make that digital play surface. We've probably all seen them, the touchscreen TVs where you have smart tokens that when you place them down, it shows your HP and everything. And I've always wanted to do that, but yeah, I think we're quickly skipping past that step. Speaking of skipping past steps, we touched a bit on your story with a certain app, because you are an advocate for standing against follow for follow and support for support rap.
Yes.
And there is a certain app out there that I've already mentioned on this podcast once. And the funny thing is, and I'm not taking any credit for it, but the funny thing is, right after the last episode aired, where we talked a bit about Hover, they started changing things. Because suddenly there was a very large name out there talking to them. That most of us are familiar with if we've been on Twitch or YouTube in any way, shape, or form. Mr. Harris Heller. There are also other creators that have talked about it. And Rab, you have the most, let's say, experience with them. Give us a short rundown of what is Hover and why people should stay away from it.
So I'll preface this by saying that most of Hover's behavior, like you said, the algorithm has been changed, so it's no longer strictly follow for follow or sport for sport, whereas it used to be. It used to be that your videos would... There was a score system called Gravity, and you increased that by liking and commenting on other people's posts, and your gravity, your score would... The higher your score was, the more your videos would get pushed. You were directly rewarded for interacting with other people's content. And you saw people who were very high in the scoring leaderboard who didn't make content. They just went and spam liked a lot of people's stuff. or followed. They saw people that followed 22,000 people. Now, I couldn't imagine following 2,000 people. Never mind 22,000. I don't know how you even pretend that you're consuming that much content. So they have removed it. So the algorithm itself is no longer, in my opinion, support for follow. However, it was that way for so long that the people that are at the top directly benefited from it long enough to make a sort of permanent impact. I believe that the app is a pyramid scheme built to promote not just the people that created the app itself, which is now a Twitch partner. Like the app is a Twitch partner, and they must be making money off that. But also their partners. So they select partners that are part of the app, and if you went onto the app now, the first 10 videos you see, I can guarantee you at least 5 of them would be from those partners. So when you first started on the app, when liking, commenting on people's posts actually meant something, you'd be like, oh, my videos are doing terrible, how do I improve that? And the first thing they tell you is get your gravity up. So what do? You go on the app and you find videos to like and comment on. Who shows up as soon as you go on the app? Their partners. So you're pushing their partners. And then you've got these partners and all of their content. Like, I'm not judging anyone's content, but there's no War Thunder streamers on there. There's no World of Warships streamers on there. All of their partners are just chatting streamers, and all they talk about is streaming or hover.
Right.
So people see these people, it's like the pinnacle of the app, and pretty much all of them are partners now, or some of them made partners directly through the app, like with the boost the app gave them. A couple of others are applying for partner. And you think, wow, that's what I want to be. What do I have to do? I've got to get into that clique. I've got to get into that niche. So people interact with them, and it pushes them further up. And then, like I said, it's the way that a Sport for Sport Discord used to run, where I want to be at the top with that guy that runs it is. What do I have to do? I have to get my name out there. I need to start following people, talking to them in their chat. I need to start giving them subs or giving them bits so people know who I am and my name gets used, and then people maybe start watching me instead. That's how I felt like that was. There's also some much less savoury behaviours from them as well. Like when I first, I know you said a short version of it, but
Go for it.
I can't really do it justice without giving the full story. I think I would be doing a disservice to both the app and both myself. I don't tell people not to use the app. I tell people use the app if you want. Do not become a consumer of the app. Like those people that I spoke to, like, oh, the app's great. I spend 7 hours in the Discord talking to people. I'm like, how do you have 7 hours a day to talk to other people about making content? Like, what? That's 7 hours a day that I could use to make content, like make better content or get better at making content, not networking with other streamers or, pushing their numbers on an app. It might sound terribly selfish, but that's 7 hours that you could 100% better spend. So I don't tell people not to use the app. I tell people to use the app. My main problem when I first seen it was that a lot of the partners are pushing the app. I'm trying to think of a way to say this without swearing.
Feel free to swear. That's perfectly fine.
My issues with people was don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. I had like major people on TikTok who are like cornerstones of the Twitch community on TikTok, like 100,000, 200 followers saying, use this app and you blow up overnight. I'm like, what? So that was my first interaction with the app, and I was like, this is a well-trusted person. A lot of people follow them. They do all the Twitch tips, Twitch advice. Checked it out, I looked at it, and I was like, yeah, that algorithm is built to reward support for sport, and I said that. I also found out that one of the partners was the gentleman whose community had sent me death threats a few months before. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, as a heads up, nobody likes him. Nobody likes their community. You're going making a very big public mistake by putting him as the face of your app. And they never came back to me on that, never replied to me. And then a couple months later, they said, we went back to Rab and he didn't want to talk to us about it. And I was like, whoa, now you're straight lying.
Wow.
And then when I continued that conversation, I found myself getting sort of attacked by their partners on Twitter. And I say sort of attacked. I wasn't attacked. I was plain out attacked. Like took some verbal abuse, some harassment from their partners. They're very dogpiley. Like they just jump into conversations and no, you don't know what you're talking about and this and that, and then childish name calling as well. It was great. It wasn't just me. Like a lot of people got harassed by their partners in the app. People were told, "Oh well, your opinion doesn't matter because you've only got X amount of viewers." And I was like, "Isn't that what your app's about?
Yeah.
Like you're the partner on the public face of an app built for small creators, and here you are as a Twitch partner making fun of small creators." They have reined in since then. Because I wouldn't have done them very good now because those bigger guys are on them, like Harris Heller, Gail Level, Zach Bussey. A lot of big people have now been told about that, heard about that. Funnily enough, none of them have made videos about it yet, saying how good it is or saying how bad it is. So I'll take it either way. But I think the big sort of downfall, I said downfall, came when the app had a clip competition for funniest clip, and a clip got to the final that contained a slur against disabled people. It was the R word, and this got through vetting in 2 rounds, I think, of the clip competition until someone heard it and said, "Wait a minute, did you not hear that in the background?" And it got pulled, and the runner-up got awarded the prize. The person, I don't think the person got banned. The clip got removed, and they were banned from entering any more competitions, but not banned from the app, which is fine. I'm not going to ask people to deplatform a guy for that, you know. It wasn't targeted at anyone. It was just his follow alert had it in it. You know, it's accommodated to some people, I guess. But people complained and said, "Oh, hold on a minute, how did that get through the app's vetting? Like, do you not have people checking these clips that you think are the funniest clips on your app?" And all these people that complained and asked for the app to be a little bit, you know, better at what they do, got blocked on Twitter. And they're like, "Hold on a minute, you're now blocking people for asking why you allowed a slur to be played on stream." And they said, "No, we blocked people for abusing and harassing our staff." And
Hold on. Asking a critical question about how things are done is apparently harassment?
Yeah. So my comeback to that was now you're entering libel/slander territory, because if, say, someone wants to sponsor me and says, "I'm going to find a little bit more about Rab," and it says, "Oh, Rab got blocked by Hover for harassing the staff," and I was like, "Whoa! If anyone ever comes to me and says, 'We don't want to work with you because you harassed Hover staff,' I will sue you into next year."
Oh my god.
Yeah, so they told a number of streamers, including a couple of big streamers that are maybe going to hit partner this year, got blocked for asking questions. Since then, they've replied to a couple of tweets from big people, including Harris. And like you said, they changed the whole thing the day after a conversation with Harris Heller. I don't know if that's coincidence. I said in my video that it probably is, but I'm not going to. It probably isn't a coincidence because they have a history of doing it before, and usually if they have big news, they tease it out for days on end and make people interact with all the Twitter posts about, "If you give us 100 likes, we'll reveal it early." So that was most of the Hover drama. Right now, I think use the app if you want, use it at your own peril. My biggest issue I have with it right now is that most of the content on the app is recycled TikToks, and the app does not have they've not explicitly said, but I do not believe that they have all the musical licenses and recording licenses or whatever to host all of these songs that may be contained in TikTok. A lot of TikToks, Grumbles and I don't use it, but a lot of them contain licensed music, and TikTok has contracts with the recording studios to use them. But you know, if you download a TikTok and try and put it on YouTube, YouTube would tell you, "We detect copyrighted music."
Yeah.
So you can't use it. Hover does not have that. They will not straight up answer any questions about DMCA. Many people have asked them. They just said, "It's fine, it's sorted, we're dealing with it." You know, and I'm like, yeah. If I was, and I was arguing and with them that they as a platform have directly profited from stolen content, stolen musical content.
Yeah.
Other artists' work. Because if you've built a platform on recycled TikToks containing music that you do not have the rights to, you have profited from stolen work.
I mean, yeah, there's no doubting that. There's probably some sort of legal case to be made that no, they didn't profit, whatever. I don't care. Like, in my eyes, they have profited. But the fact, like you say, that the day after having a conversation with a creator like Harris Heller, that suddenly things get changed without any sort of word of warning or any pre-warning that, okay, yeah, we're going to be changing stuff, we're going to be doing stuff, and then actively getting rid of one of their biggest features, because gravity was a big part of Hover.
Yeah, it was their unique selling point. It was one of the things they had that other apps didn't have. They talk a little bit like transparency of the app. Like, we tell you how the algorithm works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you tell us how it works so that you can encourage us to abuse it, or to use it in a certain way. But yeah, they changed it the day after the conversation with Harrison. I don't think it was a coincidence. I think the luck was running out. They pretty much we've been telling them for maybe 6-8 months that your algorithm in its current format rewards support for sport. It needs to change. And they'd always argued, no, it doesn't. We detect if people spam, there's reporting features, or it was just playing the partners saying, you're talking rubbish, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 and attacking people. Now, the day after speaking to Arcelo, the day that they announced they were changing it, the whole community was like, oh, it's brilliant, this is great, they're finally changing it. And I was like, wait, what? You've argued with me for 6 months that there's nothing wrong with it and that it wasn't a bad thing, and now you're congratulating the app for getting rid of it. Like, pick a side.
The unique feature, yeah.
Yeah. If it was such a bad thing, like I've been saying for 6 months, why did you disagree with me? But there was also people as well saying, well, now that it's gone, what are you going to complain about? Nothing. Like, nothing. My argument's over. I'm done. I'm done. Like,
sorry, I was in the middle of a drink there as you said it. It was like, what are you going to complain about now? I was like, no, you've done your thing. What the hell?
I don't know if you've seen the clip of Barack Obama when he's like, I don't have any more elections to win because I won them both.
Yeah.
It's like, that's me. It's like, yeah, I don't have any more fights to win because I've won.
Well, but hearing their reaction, hearing the way that they kind of cheer it on and blindly just follow things.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've joked around a lot that the community TigersDen is not a cult or anything. And we have this cultist kind of robe-looking emote and everything. But, my lords, if I've ever heard of a cult, it's the way they're behaving.
There's a sad side to it that we'll go into in a second, but before I do, just in regards to the Tiger community, purple burglar alarm. And the number of members of the community asked me to say this, and I forgot.
I have one other. I think I need you to say. Okay, I'll paste this in the conversation for you. So there you go. Can you say that one?
Rural juror.
There you go. Maury is now happy, and the rest of the community is now happy. There you go.
So to cut the jokes, there is kind of a sad side to it, with the cult-like behaviour, which, I have joked about it, like acting like a cult, behaving like a cult. The sad side to it is they do, and it's not always funny. There's been people that I know that have agreed with me and then started using it, got a couple of follows, and they're like, oh, wait, never mind, the app's perfect, it's great. And it is because the app feeds off the desperation of people to make it, to get to where their partners are. And like, oh, if I can spend a couple hours on this app, liking and commenting and networking with people, maybe I can get up there. And that's the really sad thing for me, is that they are preying on the desperation of small streamers. And that's what That's what upsets me and what makes me want to speak out about it and tell these people, look, it ain't going to happen. Like, there's a very few number of people get up there, and you can't all support each other up to the top, because what you're going to do is just pass around subs to each other. It's really not how it works. There can't be too many people that talk about a pyramid scheme, otherwise it's not a pyramid.
No, that's kind of the opposite of a pyramid.
That reverse funnel thing. But just, I've tried as much as I can to sort of not put people off the app. I don't want people not using the app. Like, the app in itself, it has some positive features, it has some good features. But there's a limit to anything. And what the limiting feature to this app is that it's mostly all creators. If you go on TikTok and you post something about World Warships, most of the people you might reach might not be World Warship streamers, maybe just gamers that want to watch it, want to play it. Problem with Hover is, as much as they say it's not, it's all other streamers, all other content creators. Talk a lot about how there's consumers and there's creators. If you go on TikTok still consumers, those doom scrollers that sit in the toilet for half an hour scrolling through clips. Hover is creators. I'm not saying that no one sits on Hover and going through looking at all the clips, but the majority of people that are on Hover are there to post their own clips and boost themselves, not just find something to watch. So maybe I'm being cynical when I say you'll never really know if someone on Hover, and this can be the same for a lot of Twitch, to be honest, you'll never really know if someone wants to support you or if they're only using you as a stepping stone or using you to pull themselves up. And I think that's the real cynical issue with these schemes is a bit of a bad word, I guess. These not just apps, these communities, which are all other creators. You want a community full of consumers. You want a community that wants to come and watch you because they enjoy your content, not because they want to help. They want you to help them with their content.
So there's something you mentioned, like in an attempt to grow in a world where you want to grow your own community and grow your own channel, then yes, that's what you want. However, something I've talked about that I've been missing, something that I want to maybe set up if I have the possibility, is to see a place where I can actively network, not promote, not grow, but where I can network and have a proper conversation with other streamers without it being awkward because they're live or I'm live or in the Twitch chat of somebody else's live, like, because it gets awkward.
Yeah.
But like Hover could have been that place.
It could have. I think they market themselves as gaming TikTok, which should be fine if we didn't already have TikTok. Because TikTok's gaming TikTok. If you're on TikTok for more than an hour, guess what? TikTok's gaming TikTok. TikTok's Rab TikTok. TikTok's Tiger TikTok. TikTok's Grumbles TikTok. It will find you your niche very quickly. So trying to create a more niche version of it already, personally, I think is a stupid idea. Not stupid, pointless.
No,
not stupid because there's money off of it, but for me, it's not viable long term. And what they always say is it's great because it's just like a small community and they can really answer their users and they can fix things quickly. That shouldn't be the end goal because you want that app to be bigger than TikTok. So how are you going to help everyone if you've got 1 billion users? And it's fine. Things like this are fine in their early stages where there isn't a lot of people using it. So you're a very big fish in a very small pond. But if Hover became the next TikTok and had 1 billion views on it, those partners are going to be a very small fish.
Yeah, it seems not very well thought through. Yeah, or it's thought through very well, but for other reasons that aren't visible.
Yeah. I swing between two of them. I'm thinking either it's a great idea poorly executed, or it's a terrible idea perfectly executed. Further backed up by the fact that I cannot find any evidence of either of the two careers being streamers at any point. So I'm like, if this is a platform created for streamers, then why did these non-streamers think of it? But maybe I'm just cynical.
Yeah, no, like I'm like completely as a knee-jerk reaction. My first thought was, okay, this is a get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah,
this
but there are people who come
it
to me and
is
say,
marketed
"How would you
towards
sell
them
it?"
getting money. That's the first thought I had when I saw this. But regardless, let's talk about how we can use what Hover has taught us, what Hover and other apps are doing to get better at what we're doing. So we see what Hover are doing with their collection of streamers. Let's say we open it up to even more than just streamers. Like, we open it up to all sorts of content creators. And we literally just end up with a LinkedIn for streamers or content creators. What would be the way of making this work?
So what Hover did well, potentially did well, is they had all the games from categories. It's very similar to how Twitch is, where you choose what game you're playing and it puts you in that category. So Hover was in that category, and at the beginning you had to follow that category in order to see videos from it, which on the surface is a great idea because maybe I only want to see videos from certain games. However, for discoverability, it's terrible because people who play niche games were not being found. And it's because people maybe didn't know about the game or didn't want to follow the game. If the focus of the app was not on discoverability but was on networking, that would be a great idea, because you could then go on and say, work under World Warships, that's all I want to see. I want to find somebody maybe in my time zone that plays this game that I can get on with. That would be great. For discoverability, terrible, because people aren't going to be looking for every single game on Earth. But yeah, down to niche like that, you can edit your videos in the app now, which is great, kind of like TikTok. And you can directly pull your Twitch clips from Twitch into the app. Once again, that's a great feature.
That is a very great feature.
They also, unlike TikTok, you can actually watch your videos horizontal style as well. So they have some great features. It's just unfortunate that the algorithm was terrible, and their partners are terrible people. Like, what upsets me so much about it is this could have been brilliant if they had done a little bit more research in the space. This could have been brilliant. Unfortunately, I'm once again, maybe I'm being cynical, but their first partners were all support for sports streamers, so I think they picked them knowing that their audience was other streamers. And that really is the big issue as well. As if you want discoverability, other streamers aren't your market, it's non-streamers. If you want networking, perfect. So I think if Hover turned around and said, we're going to refocus our efforts and become a networking app, I would use it. Maybe. If they get rid of all the partners, I would use it. But if they refocus their efforts and say, we're going to refocus our efforts, sack all of those abusive partners and turn ourselves into a networking app, I would use it.
Would you see clips as a way of showing others how you are? I was like, not as a promotional tool, but as okay, let's say I go in to find streamers, like-minded streamers, or people that play in the same time zone as me, the same game as me, and lo and behold, there's Grumbles. And instead of Grumbles having to go in and say, this is me, Grumbles, 234 years old, dwarf of young mind, and so, instead of writing a profile, could clips be a way of showcasing who you are as a streamer? To other streamers, that is? So that more, is this my style?
It could. Now, I personally, if I was making a LinkedIn for streamers, it wouldn't be. It would be maybe an introductional video, like you've got your Twitch. What's it called? When you go in there, the
I
page.
don't know if it's an intro or whatever.
And
I
so, yeah,
know. Yeah.
like that. And you could have a link to go on the TikTok to watch the short form content, or go on YouTube and watch the long form content, or the Twitch and watch their clips. But that's what I would have it as, is a bio, an intro video, and you can use that video to get yourself across. Would I sit and go through the categories, go through time zones, find people, then watch like 3 or 4 of their videos in order to get a feel for them? Probably not. It's a lot of time. Would I watch a 1 minute introduction video from them and see if I want to get to know them a bit better? Probably.
Well, yeah. I'm just kind of forgetting the fact that there are other content creators out there than people on Twitch, and not everybody has actual clips of them.
As well, yeah.
Grumbles, how would you want to mingle with other creators?
Keep them at arm's length.
Well, you have short arms, so that's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't really have like a fully fleshed out. It's just something I sort of dabble in thoughts from time to time. But I think there's like, from my experience, networking is kind of like, you either put the graft in, the time and effort to get to know people, and remembering that, they're making an impression on you and you're making an impression on them. Like, I go places and I hang out in places where I feel welcome, I feel comfortable, I feel entertained, and for me, I'm always there for the person and what they're kind of, their personality and the way they're entertaining, because I think of this as entertainment business. And the networking I've kind of changed a little bit my thinking from, it was frustrating at first, like the age-old meme about lack of discoverability and so forth. And I think that's definitely something that, you were always comparing the big two, Twitch and YouTube, for the various different things that their different strengths and whatnot. But I feel like, having kind of kicked myself a little bit and started to make more of an effort, it takes time, but I feel like I'm forming more of an understanding of those people and a bond with them. I guess what I think that the clips will give you a good sort of little snippet, a little taste of the flavor of it, but it doesn't replace spending actual time with people. And maybe there's like a bit of a conflict here somewhere between this idea of how do you get a quick snapshot of somebody and then decide. I think it's not exactly as simple as this, but there's a little bit, it reminds me or makes an analogy in my mind of like judging a book by its cover. Like you look at a 30-second or whatever clip and it's like, okay, I'm going to decide whether I guess the question is, what do you want? What's the decision? What are you trying to, or are you hoping that people will decide? Because for me, and I think there's similarities for us, is I'm looking for people to come along and be part of a community because we have fun together and it's a safe space, and we're just getting through this journey and this challenge of life together. That's kind of very much how what's front and center for me. So I'm not sure clips work in that way, in the same way as like a big billboard or a big, or an advertisement or something, I guess. So it's important, and I probably underplay it in my mind, or underutilize it for sure. I'm sure I'm guilty of that. But for me, so far in this journey, I feel like the last 6 months, year or so, actually spending like good quality time and getting to understand people and get, understand their vibe and everything and see how it clicks, that's been more valuable to me. I guess I feel like, in a simplistic way, I'm going around just making friends with people, and if I genuinely get on and enjoy them and they enjoy having me around, that's cool.
Okay, but here's my question to you. How do you find them?
That's probably the challenge at the moment. The way I've been very fortunate to find a bunch of really friendly people and what I would call like friends of the channel or whatever is partly by coincidence, So being in similar genres, having similar sort of ways of experience and entertaining with various content, partly by the lucky happenstance of, you know, getting a raid or raiding somewhere else or whatever, or somebody giving you a hint and saying, oh, check this person out. And that's worked out quite well. And some of it has been, so I think it's a combination of things. And some of it has been just spending time and getting to understand people and understand how they're presenting their content and what are the creative ideas and things that they're doing sort of artistically. So there hasn't been like a structured channel to it. It's just been a mishmash of coincidences. But I'm not unhappy with that to some extent. I think if I was to try and think it through, I would probably start what I've started to do a bit more now, or pay more attention to. I haven't really acted on it, but what I've added into my thinking is looking at things like the different categories on offer in Twitch, looking at the content that I'm interested in, and then trying to sort of briefly sort of flick through, hover in a few places and try and get, rather than like a specific clip or something, just trying to get a snapshot of time with them and see, okay, do I get this vibe? And sometimes what happens is I flit in and out of channels, and it might be like the fifth time or whatever that I've been there, and then it'll suddenly click with me and I'll go, oh yeah, cool, okay, I'll follow this one, and I'll be there, and then maybe I'll start talking in the chat and stuff.
You used a couple of keywords there that I kind of latch onto here: fortune and luck. Because let's face it, that's what I'm kind of talking about here, where Twitch doesn't have that. Like, you need to be lucky to end up getting those followers and those views to reach affiliate and partner. You can do all the hard work in the world, you can have the best setup in the world, but if you're not lucky enough that those viewers stumble upon you, that like you, then that's not going to happen. Same thing is with networking. If I want to find somebody where I can have a professional conversation with them about the inner workings of Twitch, like how do they solve these issues with their stream elements bot or their streamer bot, or where do they source their music for their long form content, all of these professional questions that honestly, like, if you bring it up to somebody in the middle of their stream, yeah, they might be able to answer you, but it's not their time to sit and do that unless they have a specific stream for it. Where do you source that? Like, you find it on YouTube, you find it anywhere else, but again, you're still looking actively for their content instead of looking for the profile of the person, which is where I think that a dedicated place to talk to other affiliates and partners and streamers that do this and have their own thing going could be good. And getting to a place where you can present yourself and meet others in this professional setting would be very good, which is why I really love this idea. I really enjoy the idea of being able to do that, but how in the world do we do it? Because I don't want to be in the position of luck being the deciding factor whether or not I get to meet somebody that I can have a good conversation with. I'm missing a tool to find that. That's where I'm thinking of Hover, TikTok, and other places, but something that is rooted and aimed towards content creators.
That's a tough one. I think the main point that, for me anyway, you'd have to remove from anything like that is the promise of growth. Like, this is not about getting bigger. This is not about increasing your viewership. It's not about making more money. It's about getting better by way of getting to know people in your community, in the wider community that you think you may want to be friends with. Because as soon as you say, "Oh, come and join this app, we'll help you grow," then you sort of you don't attract the wrong attention, but you'll never, like I said earlier, you'll never know if people are in it for the right reasons. Because if you're on LinkedIn, people want to get a job. Yeah, cool. We know why people are on LinkedIn. If you're on any of these Twitch discoverability apps, you're on it to get bigger on Twitch. But if you're on a dedicated networking website, you're on it to make friends. Like there's no hiding it. There's no promise.
Yeah, there's not like a win or loss from it. It's either you're enjoying the experience or you're not, and it's helping you creatively. I agree. I think for me, it comes down to what the goal is. One of the hardest things in I think certainly in Twitch, arguably with YouTube, probably I think pretty much the same thing. It's slightly different, but it's maybe just a different, twist of lemon on the same topic. Is kind of dealing with that whole numbers element to it, because I totally take your point and I don't disagree. If the goal is growth, right, then I don't, it's absolutely correct. I think the question is like, is really for each content creator, what is it that they're actually trying to achieve? What do they want to achieve from it? Kind of, it doesn't even matter why or for what purpose, that's irrelevant. But what are they aiming for? Because ultimately a lot of these things and all the big data and the algorithms, all the rest of it, if it's terms of just pure luck or numbers of people finding and whatnot, there's basically two elements to it. One is a luck element, I think, and you have to see it as a competitive entertainment business from that point of view, if you're looking at it from a business mindset. And the other is just big data and algorithms. I mean, from that point of view, and then it's just like up to your own kind of moral standards or whatever. Do you just play the game because that will get you to your goal, or do you stick to your principles, maybe with the consequence that you will take a lot longer to reach those goals or whatever, or maybe not even reach them? For me, it's not possible to entirely ignore the numbers. You can't, because that's part of the game, especially if it's a full-time, if that's your means of income, whatever. But I just think, I think one of the things that's hardest about that probably is that business is a very cruel world, right? It's business doesn't care about anything. This is one of the biggest issues that people face in any line of business. Yeah. And one of the biggest parts of like sort of capital society that we live within. And I'm not going on some political rabbit hole, whatever. But one of the problems is that, and I've struggled with this, most of my adult life, is that a lot of the time business and a lot of these things get treated and pervaded in a very emotional, a very sort of humanized way. The harsh reality is that it doesn't, numbers and all that in the book, it doesn't care. It's not, business is just really cold. It's not a living entity, but we're often misguided deliberately because it makes, funnily enough, business sense. It's like clickbait, or, the way mass media is, and all these kinds of things. It's all driven around numbers. And I think that's one of the hardest things to deal with and kind of learn, and find a method to kind of, work with or accept at the very least. Yeah. So I don't know what the answer is. I very much the strong sort of, I guess, my emotional side, my sentiment wants it to be not about any of that. I wish I could ignore the numbers entirely. I think I do a pretty good job for myself most of the time. That doesn't mean I don't have anxiety and frustrations and whatnot sometimes. But I think a lot of it reminds me a lot of what Rab was saying. And a lot of the conversation, what really was going through my mind when listening and thinking it through was what are the goals of these people, and what exactly, and I'm not being critical of them because I just don't know any of this content, but what even are they creating at the end of the day? What's the entertainment? What is even, and it doesn't mean that I have to like it, but like, is there an audience out there? Is it entertaining? Is it making people's lives happier or better in some way? Or, because a lot of it sounds like these other schemes and these other platforms sound like that's irrelevant. Like the actual content you're creating is irrelevant, as long as you're getting the numbers there. And that's more worrying to me, because that feeds into, the sort of the nature of the beast, as it were. Even now I'm using the wrong kind of terms for these things, but this inhumane, this business system, again, if the target is just growth and just focused on the numbers, I don't know if there is really an answer out there. Because actually all the things that we kind of talked about that we all generally don't agree with or don't think are morally kind of where we'd want to be or where we see ourselves, they're probably the way you can achieve, in air quotes, the success from a business metric point of view. And so that also, we're never going to survive. People, based on our conversation here and our understanding I have of us and where we're at, we're never going to be part of that system and feel comfortable in it, because we're not playing it as a business numbers game.
No, that's something big you touch on there, like the way business works. There's a reason why there's a saying going, nothing personal, it's business, kid. It's that that TV trope almost.
Yep. And
that's where things get problematic on Twitch, or not just on Twitch, with any sort of content creation that is ran by people and not by a large media firm. Because the content I create is highly personal. It is me. I am the content in this case. Well, I mean, there's a game there that I'm reacting to, but in all essence, the creator is the content that's going out there. And I guess that's why it goes beyond just that same business thing. But we touched a bit on, like, you mentioned that Hover were actively telling people how their algorithm worked. I think there's a reason why YouTube, Twitch, and other places aren't telling you how their algorithm works.
I agree. I think the reason that they aren't telling you is because they want good content to do well. If you know how the algorithm works, then, like Grumbles touched on, mediocre content can do well in business terms, air quotes, well. Whereas if you don't know how it does, you concentrate on making the best content you can make, not something that fits into the algorithm. If I knew how long to make a video on YouTube to appear on the trending page, just make nonsense. But no, not knowing it encourages you to make the best possible content you can. And touching on, you both nailed a couple of bits. If you're in this sort of, call it circle jerk, there's probably a better word for it, this echo chamber of other creators, and you're making content specifically for that niche of other creators, like, I'm going to talk about streaming, I'm going to talk about what happens when OBS breaks, I'm going to talk about when the mods are bullying me, and then you come out of that niche and start showing that to Joe public, they're not going to get it. And then what you're going to do, your numbers are going to fall, and because you've lost yourself. And I think a huge part of this content creation is that you can be yourself, and you need to find people that want to come and see you, not want to see what you fit yourself into to, air quotes, do well. So you find a lot of people in these communities, they just sort of mold into this one amalgamous blob of the same content, rather than be unique people that actually attract people to come watch them. And then when they step out of these communities, they fall flat on their face because they've never known how to do the hard work of content creation.
I legitimately love watching other streamers make their content that is for streamers, because it lets me know how like one of the people I really enjoy on TikTok is Knackers.
Yes.
he
Very much
does
so.
excellent tips for streamers, but it's made in a way that's also enjoyable for people who aren't streamers, which is kind of impressive. But he knows that his audience is going to be streamers, and he works towards it, and it's excellent. So, but then you have all these other people that are kind of doing the same thing with the mindset of reaching the end user as such, like the person who isn't going to go on scene.gg and do that whole thing. But then again, I'm a streamer. Like I look for this actively. So
it's great content for us because I want to find out about the latest and greatest microphones, or I can understand a joke about OBS, but average Joe walking down the street doesn't want it. Like, he wants to see you blowing up warships. He wants to see you shooting people in Tarkov. So the problem with that is that you're niching yourself way down. And I know that there are a lot of streamers right now, but there's not enough to go around as viewers.
I've done a couple of these that I call Tuikbis, or things I wish I knew before I started streaming. But more of them are aimed towards average Joe who's sitting there thinking, I could do some streaming. It's like, no. You need to be aware of this before you start streaming. Just how much hard work it is. Like those sorts of things. Or all of the things that will hit you right in the feels as you're having a conversation with somebody. Or all these weird things that you're not really aware of until you sit there. Because there are so many times you've had people whisper me going, dude, streaming is hard fucking work. How do you do it? It's like, I don't know. But I told you.
You're never prepared. Until you hit that live button, you're never prepared because you don't know what's going to happen.
Grumbles, you had a question.
Did I?
Yeah. What's this preparedness you're talking about?
Yeah. Well,
I'm not prepared. So that's fine. But yeah, no, we've been going for quite some time now. So I to round off with a more positive and fun note, I have a couple of written down questions that I'd like to ask you, Rab, as a guest here today. So, first and foremost, like if you could wake up tomorrow and you've gained one of any quality or ability, large or small, what would that be? Like, we're talking anything from superpowers to, I can draw a perfectly round circle without help. Like, what is there anything you want to do like that?
That's a great question. Because the potential for mischief is incredible. The terrible thing is, like, most of the things I think of are perfectly achievable by human means. I'm like, I wish I could be in better shape. I can be in better shape. I could start going to the gym again. Why is this such a difficult one?
Yeah, why is this such a difficult one?
Everyone says fly, and I would love to be able to fly. The thing is, would you be flying? Is it like physical exercise? Do you get tired? Is it?
Can you breathe up there?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it physical exertion, or do you just float like you're using your brain to do it?
Hey, I'm not placing any limits. This is all on you, man. Like,
how fast are you able to fly? Like, do you fly at walking or running speed? Because that's kind of boring.
You can fly, but only at 0.5 miles an hour.
Only as fast as you can run. And I'm like, that's kind of pointless. I can just run there.
And you get just as out of breath. Yeah.
Continental drift is how you fly.
I like that.
You just float in place where the earth moves around you. Yeah. In fact, no, that would be far too fast, actually.
I mean, sounds like it would still be a better hover than the app.
Yeah. Hey-o.
My one superpower is I can hover in place slightly above ground. No. Flight would be brilliant, let's be honest. Like, if you could have flying at a decent speed, maybe not supersonic because that would probably be very dangerous, but if you could fly at great speeds and it wasn't physically exerting, so it wasn't like absolutely knackering you, I think flight would be it. Like anyone would want to fly. You want to see the world, you want to see what's around there, you want to see what's up there. It'd be that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one. All right.
Very basic.
Very basic, but it works. Like it serves a purpose. But if you could have anyone in the world to be your dinner guest, like we're talking live or dead, who would that be, and why?
I'll go that as well. I think enjoy the content of. That won't get me in trouble with Jade as well, so I need to be really careful.
Tell her not to listen to this podcast, and it'll be fine.
Well, yeah, good point. No, I think I maybe want to say. Maybe probably someone sports related. Actually, I'd like to sit down with Muhammad Ali in his prime. I think would be an incredible dinner guest.
Ooh, yeah.
I could maybe go American football, and I could have like Mike Ditka, who I think would be a terrible dinner guest, but just for the fun would be hilarious. Yeah, I would say I'll go Mike Ditka.
Okay. Any special reason for him?
It's just the man's a walking meme. He's also the Bears head coach when we won a Super Bowl. But he's a walking meme and he's hilarious. I don't know if you've seen the film Kicking and Screaming. What's his name? Will Ferrell. It's the soccer movie.
No, not familiar with it.
No, he's the next door neighbour and he plays himself in it. But he was like the Super Bowl winning player, assistant coach and head coach, and just all round madman.
Nice. Yeah, no, it sounds like a good choice. Okay, and here's a bit of a harder one. Not necessarily hard, but it brings some food for thought. Is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time? And in that case, why haven't you done it?
You know, life is pretty good right now. Actually, like most of the things that I want to do, I just do. That's probably my toxic red flag. The characteristic is if I want to do something, I just do it. It goes the same for if I want something, I just buy it. It makes me the worst for Christmas or birthdays, and for saving money as well. But I'm like, oh, I want that game. I'm going to buy it. I would really like to be self-employed again and have my own business. I've done it a few times previously, and it appeals to me more. I guess not like I've got like a problem with holiday or anything like that, but it just appeals to me more, and I feel like I'm much more productive when I work for myself. The reason why I don't is I don't know what I would do. I don't know what product I could make or sell or what service I could provide that would pay the bills, which is why I still work for the man.
Maybe that's where that journey should start then, huh?
Yeah, a little bit of self-discovery and find out what I can do.
Yeah, exactly.
If I get any better at painting, I'll start selling models.
Dude, do it. But it has come to that time where we are starting to look at something to smile about. And Grumbles, unlike other times, I'm gonna go first. I actually haven't kept up with who's been going first with these things. But no, I'm gonna go first this time. Because it kind of dawned on me earlier today while I was streaming, and there was a certain person that popped by in stream, also known as my girlfriend. And we were talking about food for some strange reason. And something that made me smile is the thought of next time she comes by, I found a place where I can order sushi. I haven't had proper sushi since I lived in Oslo, which is now, well, in coming this summer, it'll be 3 years ago. And I live in a place that has a lot of fresh fish. Like we're one of the biggest suppliers of fresh cod in Northern Europe here in this tiny municipality. But still haven't had sushi. But that made me smile. The thought that when she gets here, I'm going to call a place and say, make me sushi, please. And I'm going to have sushi for the first time in a long time. And I'm really looking forward to that. And that made me smile. Because I'll be sharing sushi with my girlfriend. So yeah, there you go. That's me.
Nice.
Grumbles, what made you smile?
What made me smile was, fun enough, I can link it back to some of what we talked about earlier, well, apart from surviving the horrible Bean Boozled Flaming 5, was just being able to enjoy my first charity stream, structured charity stream for this year, and just have so many people come along and be entertained and help spread the word and see that the message and the organization hope for the day that we're aligned with for this year, how much that kind of resonated as I had anticipated, but the uptake was incredible and passing around, and the icing on the cake really was just bumping into a whole bunch of others kind of through that organization and through and the combination of streaming some of the games we play and just finding out that there's a whole bunch of other folks also doing work towards that charitable cause as well, and that just really warmed my heart and put a big smile on my face that's still brimming away now. So yeah, that's my something to smile about, just having, because there's a lot of anxiety, you know what it's like, Tiger, you care so much and you put so much energy in yourself into these things to the extreme, and I was very nervous, especially the days leading up to it, and it all just kind of went off without a hitch. So very, very happy and very humbled and honored to be able to do something to give back.
It's okay to not be okay.
Exactly.
Indeed. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Tastic, aka Rab, what has made you smile recently?
Yeah, as I touched on, it's been pretty good. Recently moved in with my girlfriend. We've got a new place together. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it here. I'm sitting in my office because we've got spare rooms in the office now.
Hey,
I can look out the window and see my dad's house. He's like 50 meters away, so I'm still near him if anything goes wrong, if I need to jump down. Work's going well. We're both very happy with that. Yeah, life is good. I think picking up this passion for painting again the last couple of days has changed my mindset a little bit. Where I'm like, I'm fed up with you could look at it as destructive habits that I've had, where I guess a lot of my content has been pretty argumentative and fighty, but like it was meant to be. For me, it was more protecting small streamers, but going from that to let's create something, let's make something, get some plastic together, get some paint together and make something. And even just thinking about it the last couple of days and planning it and setting up my desk and getting my supplies out and looking for some new models to buy, that's definitely put me in a much better mind space than what am I going to argue about this time, or what fight am I fighting this time. It's definitely a lot more creative upstairs, and I'm enjoying that.
Well, just hearing that makes me smile, so that's good.
Yeah.
Getting back to the joy of creation instead of looking for the next fight or preparing for the next fight or whatnot.
Yeah. Criticism has its place, but it is exhausting.
It is.
And sometimes I'd much rather create than criticize.
I think we're all there at some point or other. We all have our fights that we like to stand up for, but it's hard to be in that fight for a long time, especially when it feels like you're standing alone there.
Very much.
That's gonna be the closing words here from us for today. It is like I said, the 22nd of February 2022. When will this episode air? Oh, soon TM. Sometime before the 1st of March, at least. That we're sticking to it. We're sticking to it. But without further ado, yes.
Time marches on, is what I was going to say.
It does. Without further ado, I've been the Tiger. He's been the Rab, and he's been the Grumbles. We'll see you guys, and we'll exit the port next time. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for being with us, Rab.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, guys. I'm back, sorry.
Don't worry about that.
No problem.
All right, let's see.
His mum got us a water purifier as a housewarming gift, and I've drank so much water since I got it. It's unreal.